Hi folks, sorry about that disruption. My laptop overheated and it started to fizzle out. So I had to stop the video and now we're back. But at least I had just finished creating a reprise of some of the principal points that I made in Tuesday's lecture. So I brought those forward. So now I wanted to discuss with you your next paper assignment. It's a two-pager, so not as involved as the Tempest examination. However, I definitely want us to explore, since we are now looking at contemporary theater, the role of filmic adaptation as perhaps an evolution in the theatrical tradition. And so we do so with Huang's M Butterfly because it was adapted a few years after the play was first produced into a major motion picture starring Jeremy Irons and directed by David Cronenberg and produced by Geffen Films. So it was a big film. It had a lot of buzz around it, including Oscar buzz, and it becomes a terrific opportunity for us to think about how the relationship of theater and film exists in the television and filmic age. So our paper, which is due at the end of next week, I wanted to go over, contextualize, and get you ready so that you can begin thinking about this now that you have been exploring the more theoretical notions of M. Butterfly and how it situates itself as a post-colonial, postmodern text, especially in relationships to transnationalism and gender. Now we're going to look at it from a craft perspective. So the assignment prompt is in next week's module. I'm sure that you can see it. And I just want to go over some of the aspects of the prompt to make sure that you understand what is expected and what are the possibilities. So I say in the prompt that we have discussed just kind of in passing over the last quarter and a half the kind of role of film and television as a contemporary model for theater. And we even looked at the adaptation of The Tempest last quarter. If y'all remember Julie Taymor's version with Helen Mirren as Prospero. But we didn't really talk about it in depth. We didn't do any kind of formal examination of those shifts. And that's what we're doing with this two-page performance analysis that I'm asking you to prepare for next week. And I say in the prompt, film and television are in many cases the evolution of theater, in the midst of technological developments and cultural change. And many of the aesthetic considerations of drama, whether it be plot or character, or theme, unity, dialogue, all the things that Aristotle talks about, heavily have been applied to the rules of film as well. However, intrinsically, there are going to be differences between them, yes? And that is worth considering. So this paper is a chance for you to reflect on that general question, but to do it by specifically examining Huang's play M. Butterfly and the 1993 filmic adaptation by director David Cronenberg, which, by the way, the screenplay was written by Huang as well. So that's even more interesting because we can't just chalk up the differences that we see between the play and the film just to the fact that other people are producing it. Yes? So Huang is related to both. He wrote the screenplay for the film. And so that immediately has us begin to understand that through the examination of the play and the film, that there must be particular differences in the way each medium ushers forth its ideas through a comparative examination. Because the filmic version is different, even in screenplay, than the play itself. And so we immediately come to this kind of comparative investigation, knowing full well that Huang himself was paying attention to the needs of film versus the needs of theater. Okay? So what I'm asking you to do is, through a comparative examination between the play and the film, to identify a specific aspect or element where you see that comparative examination kind of eliciting some insight in meaning or quality. And that could be anything that you decide. You could specifically compare the character of Song, both in the representation in the play and in the representation of the film, or Gayumad. You could focus entirely on the plot and the differences between the play plot and the screenplay plot. You could focus on setting, the stage versus the environment that the film production utilizes. You could focus on the examination of a particular theme. Any of these things could be utilized. So it's up to you. You could focus on a particular symbol, a visual element in either the play or the film. Whatever it is, what you want to do is identify a particular element, right? An aspect, to create a sense of unity, because this is only a 2-ish page investigation. So you don't want to dilute it with a whole bunch of considerations, but it's up to you to decide what it is that you want to focus on. And then through this comparative examination, you make a determination about the significance of the play versus the film, if they are different, if they are similar, some variation on that spectrum. Okay? This paper is not a film review. Do not evaluate the film or the play. Do not state that one is better than the other, one is more efficacious than the other. Let's not go there. That is, as I say in the paper prompt, Yelp culture speaking through you, and it just doesn't contribute much to cultural criticality. Instead of assigning value, think about this examination as a way to assign significance. Okay? You want to just dive in to whatever element it is that you want to do or perform your comparative examination, and then what kind of insight you glean as a result. I really want to leave this open because I want you to be creative with what you decide to investigate, and or I just want it to come from your authentic curiosity, like what aspect you're interested in. Maybe you're really fascinated by the performance of gender through language, for example. And so you want to explore Song and the way he speaks or the way she speaks in the play version versus the film version, right? Or how gender is evoked, or how colonialism is evoked, or how submission is evoked, or the ideas of masculinity are evoked in both. Or, of course, you could be focusing on elements of the play, like I've already mentioned. The way the plot is progressed, the way the setting is established, the way the character develops, right? Any of these things. I want to make sure that you just understand that you can pull from anything. I do have suggestions for the kinds of questions to ask yourself as a way to inspire whatever direction you want to go in with this performance analysis. But ultimately, it is up to you. What we don't want is summary. What we want is analysis. So just dive into the specifics of the play in the film that you want to examine. And again, this is roughly 2 pages, but give or take, everyone is a different kind of writer. So I'm just using it as merely a suggestive tentpole, okay? But whatever you write, make sure that there is also a separate works cited page, especially if you do any kind of consultation on the interwebs for ideas. You want to make sure that you cite them in your paper. But ultimately, just have fun. Enjoy this, and maybe we can make some general presumptions about the role of film in its relationship to theater through this very specific investigation. That is what we're doing for the remainder of the week. I look forward to continuing the discussion that we have around gender construct and national construct. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Have a wonderful weekend.